people in Haiti and abroad keep asking the same question, and people want to know, when do you intend to go back to Haiti? It's been 6 years now. I mean, what prevents you from going back?
I think that I see the picture. The picture is that in Haiti, we have the same people who organized the invasion of 2004 after kidnapping me to put me in Africa. And they are still there. 8,900 soldiers or so, plus 4,400 police officers, more or less, spending, spending 51 million US dollars a month in a country where 70% of the population have less than $1 a day to live. That means it's a paradise for them. Once we had the colonization of Haiti, now we have a kind of neo-colonial occupation. So they don't want me to be back, from my point of view, because they still want to occupy Haiti. Before the coup, I was calling for dialogue, such a way to have inclusion, not exclusion, to have cohesion, not explosion of the social structures. They decided to go for a coup, and the result is from bad to worse. The return is part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Next, I want to bring up was we talked about it earlier, but the shift to a multipolar world. Obviously, BRICS is more of a. It's been around since early 2000s, but now in terms there's more there's 50 plus countries applying to join BRICS.
Yeah.
Now, and what do you think in terms of the shift? Because we had a lot, at least from I'm born in 97, so when I don't know for you, like when I grew up, it's always been the US has been the superpower with its
Yeah.
allies with NATO. Although I know countries like China economically weren't doing good back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they've really grown. They've had I believe, yeah, it was the biggest growth in like a 25 year period in terms of economics. No country's ever done that except for China. So now leading back to Haiti, knowing how we've been not by our choice, I guess, but we've mostly been aligned with the West and its policies as well. What do you think with this multipolar world in terms of for Haiti? Like, do you think it's something that can, in terms of, is it realistic that they would essentially be aligned with those BRICS countries, or do you think that we'd still be in the stranglehold of NATO slash the US, essentially?
So I know there's so much there.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I
it's
don't
fully
even
loaded. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't even know where to start. All right, so like the Chinese, like they expanded a lot, and they're doing it in like in a very like intellectually superior manner. Instead of
Yeah,
going somewhere and putting the thumb on someone, they're investing in them and be like, okay, now you're indebted to us, right?
yeah,
So that's just like the best way to do it, because at least the person that you're indebting, they're having something to show instead of everything they have being demolished. So I think, like I don't know, even know, in my lifetime, or maybe like when I'm in my 60s or something,
hmm,
maybe then this BRICS movement has actually, I can never say never, but the dollar is so dominant that I don't see it something that I'm like worried about in like the next 10 years as far as like
okay,
BRICS, right? Okay. Um, so as far as them coming to Haiti, I think what the US is probably going to rely on is like the Monroe Doctrine, where they're like, no new colonizations in the Americas, whatever, and they're just going to interpret the BRICS movement as trying to colonize, because that's how they would just interpret that, right?
yeah,
That relationship. So they might be able to like to keep that away. But let's just say there wasn't even that restriction. I think the people who end up, unless the mindset really changes, everybody who ends up being put in power, they're always going to be more worried about their own material comfort and basically being a puppet for the US will always allow them to do that. Like, to think that Haiti will vote with America to maintain sanctions on like Cuba and Venezuela
Yeah.
is it shows you the lack of character that these leaders have. Because if anyone knows the history, like whenever Haiti has something wrong, Cuba will dispatch doctors.
Hmm.
When Venezuela gave Haiti tons of oil, uh,
Yeah. Down
you know,
for cheap oil.
yeah,
Yeah.
like on consignment, and then they
Yeah.
didn't have the money, and that started the whole Petrocaribe. So these countries have always been supporting you whenever you have some kind of tragedy, and then
Yeah.
you can't stand up and say, "Hey." I mean, there's no consequences for saying lift the sanction. There's no
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
consequences.
It's true.
You know, or maybe not anyone that like that. That's a different game, right? So maybe we're not
Yeah.
aware of what the consequences would be,
Yeah.
but so we don't know. But so I don't think that's something that's going to be very likely. I think what Haiti might have a better chance of doing, and at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the people, right? So like how Naibi did, making Bitcoin like official currency. I think moving
Mm.
something like that might be more beneficial. Um,
Yes.
Personally, I think Bitcoin is still too slow, and there's other mediums like I don't know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't want to like name drop like other cryptocurrencies or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
because but I think Bitcoin is still too slow for like day to day transaction. But
Okay.
but I think like as starting to make something like that like part of their treasury or something or whatever.
Like a global reserve. Like,
Yeah, something
well, their own
for the
reserve.
reserve. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'll be very beneficial. And to be honest, the most crippling thing, in my opinion, that's keeping Haiti from advancing is the love affair with the dollar.
The US
So
dollar. Yeah.
the US dollar.
Yeah.
So basically, you have like this two-tiered economy, but then the people that are in the bottom, it's not even bottom half. It's like what bottom 90%.
Yeah.
They're always trying to strive to be in that top 10% economy, and I think that stifles growth, right? So when someone could have done something, but because you're paying them in goods and not dollars, you're like, well, I'm not going to do it, and then therefore nothing
Mm.
happens, right? So like you're
Yeah.
still the person who needed something done still doesn't have it done, and the person who didn't want to take the goods still doesn't have any money. So therefore, there's no like because that's all the economy is, right? It's us doing things. But
Basically, yeah.
so
Literally.
yeah, like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So like if they're not out there, like but if there's always this love affair with the dollar, it's gonna be very hard for them to get things going. So like China, like of course they were able to improve their country or whatever, but they kept the yuan pegged to the dollar like forever, and
Hmm.
therefore they didn't have like this love affair. But if you have this position, like the thing you want is always devaluing your currency, like you're never gonna make progress because everyone else in the island is not getting paid in the dollar that you
The
want.
dollar. Yeah.
So yeah, so like if they like it's gonna take a like there's gonna be some pain. Like it's not gonna be painless, but
Yeah.
it's like what are you gonna do? Like in my lifetime, Haiti hasn't had electricity for 24 hours a day, right? Like I went as a kid in the 1990 something, in 98.
Uh-huh.
I went in 2000, then I went back in like 2020, and you're still, if you
It's
don't
still
have,
like
yeah,
random blackouts here and there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you don't have like an inverter at your house and you lose, I mean,
Okay.
it's much better,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
than it was. But I'm just saying, like in the time of like solar powers, wind energy, and all this stuff, and none of these changes are happening. Like this is what's happening when you're refusing to say, hey, like we're gonna, the most dangerous thing and the thing that I think the Western powers may not want is a country that says, hey, we're going to be sovereign. Like we're going to try to
Hmm.
figure all our stuff. But, I was talking to my wife, like, I don't know, yesterday or something. I said,
Yeah.
like, you have to keep an eye on the new world, but have old principles. So if they
Okay.
have
What do you mean by that? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
so like like if you keep an eye on the new world, there's all this technological like literally we can have a decentralized power grid with Tesla walls or other
Hmm.
inverters or whatever, right? So like that technology is available right now.
Yeah.
But then the old principles is we must own it, right? So it shouldn't be something where you're
Mm.
like, oh, we're gonna let a new like Digicel come in, monopolize
Yeah.
this space, and then block everybody else from coming in. So like this is where the government would legislate and say, hey, like we're not gonna let anybody have a monopoly. We're not gonna say only this company, whatever. So if you want to come tomorrow and start a company and you're doing your business better, then your company can take off, and then whatever, and then the people who are buying your product, they actually own it. But if
Yeah.
they create a situation where you're like leasing it to them, then they're always beholden to you. So
See.
this is like so we're gonna have to look a little bit at like old principles, but also look at all the tools that are available in this modern time. Like you're in Canada, I'm in Fort Myers. I've never
Yeah.
met you in my life, and here we are, like having this conversation.
Oh, that's
So
true.
yeah, so like there's so much available, and you look at like Haitians' love affair with French, right?
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. right? It's a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
And then you look at other countries like India and even some parts in South America that focused on learning English. And now they're all the call centers for the companies here in America, and they're able to bring money
Mm,
into their country. Indians are building websites for us here because they've invested their knowledge into what's going on in the global economy and not spending their time trying to be fancy with French.
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like if I were Haitians, I would look at the world's GDP. And obviously I speak English, maybe
Yeah.
Spanish and Chinese. I would focus my energy on that and be like, how can I service these economies? And then that way I can bring money to, like, this is the thought
Yeah.
process that needs to be going on. When you're looking at some country like France, which is minuscule, it's like a third world country, and
Yeah.
like people are
Literally.
literally,
Like,
yeah. And then like you think like your upper echelon thinks speaking that language is like what's beneficial to who.
yeah. Like,
So like
to no
it's
one
really gonna
really.
take, and I think like people like me, you, like the diaspora, like because we have access to so many different cultures and been around, like we
Yeah.
have a better footing of what's what. I think if we can influence the people that are there to kind of adopt some of this, I think that's what's gonna start causing the change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, no, you made good points on that. And back to what you were talking about the Monroe Doctrine and like the shift with Haiti and maybe the BRICS countries. A lot of them I know and Kim Ives and Travis Ross had already written about this on IT Liberté and Canadian Haiti Info Project, but essentially like the US has this thing called the Global Fragility Act.
Okay.
But essentially, like I can share you the link, but actually maybe I'll pull it up here quickly. But it's essentially they said Haiti would be part of it, one of the countries first in it. And what Travis and Kim Ives were alluding to is that it's just another way to kind of keep him in the realm of in under the realm and the influence of the US, but presenting it in kind of a different way. Let me pull it up here. Global Fragility Act PDF. Yeah, basically, I'll read it. It's like to enhance the stabilization of conflict affected areas and prevent violence and fragility globally, and for the other purposes. That's what the bill is. Like on the
And how are they going to enhance it? Like what's their
they don't they don't
so
really so
so
much.
it's like a nothing burger. This is
It's kind of a nothing burger, but it's essentially saying it's kind of to like protect the surrounding countries. So like if it were DR, Haiti, I don't know, Jamaica and Cuba, for example, they'd be all under that realm, and then the U.S. would kind of
so let me ask you this.
yeah,
They're not there now. Who's come to invade those countries?
no
Nobody.
one
So they're creating an act to give them more authority on these countries when there's not even a threat.
basically.
Okay, so
Yet,
like, so
but
like
yet, what's funny too, they're like if you could look back, like that country that's presenting this act is a threat to a lot of these countries
yeah,
economically. So
yeah,
it's like
it's mafia stuff. It's like,
yeah,
hey, you need protection from who? From us, you know?
yeah,
So like,
exactly.
I don't know, like, you know, obviously, like the populace doesn't have a lot of say in what goes on like the
Hmm.
geopolitical. Let me not say that. They haven't realized the power that they have through civil disobedience, right? To have an effect on their government interacting with other governments. So, like, when the people start realizing that, and then people need to really like just us having this conversation, I think will give people the concept, like to be like, hey, like who's coming to bother us? No one came to bother us. Why do you need to protect us?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have this right to, And then people say like, well, we don't want this. And intuitively, like for example, Haitians never grew Monsanto foods. Like they burnt the seeds. They
Mm,
were like, so like
yeah.
intuitively, they know, I just think they don't know like what to do about it. And if they want some suggestions,
Maybe.
because I remember I was like, man, if I was gonna create instability, like I would just put like 1,000 people on the airport. Like no one can land.
Yeah. Literally,
Like no, no,
literally, like
no one can land. Like how many
yeah.
days? It's like, oh, we're gonna take shifts. Like you're here today, I'm here. Because I don't know if you know, like Haiti doesn't have any nighttime flights.
I did
So
not know that.
yeah, so
Wow.
there's no everybody flies during the day. There's no nighttime flights. So like no one would be able to land at night. So you just have to do day shifts, right? So no one would be able to
Okay.
land. They would have to suspend that. So that's gonna really,
Yeah.
upset whoever's there. And then if you look at have you been to Haiti or
Nah, I want
no?
to go
Okay.
one day, yeah.
All right. So like if you, I guess there's no point in naming cities, right? But basically,
I
like,
know a few cities.
okay, so like
Yeah,
if you go to like Pitchonville, right?
yeah, I know Pittsburgh.
All
Yeah,
right, and you need to go to like Kenskoff, like
yeah.
there's like two roads, right? Like so. I would just block those two roads so that the people up there can't come, because that's where all the people with a little bit of
Um,
money live. The people that are shot
yeah,
callers. So then they can't go down. No one can come up. You know, like these types of things day after day after day, and just annoy the crap out of the
yeah.
bourgeoisie, so to speak. So I think because there's a lack of that kind of coordination, there's a lack of that organization. That's why they have more than enough power to enact change. There's just is not organized.
Oh, definitely. I agree with
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you. It's even with our and I don't want to butcher this number, but we were one of the most self-sustaining countries in the world, just like in the 1990s, 2000s. Like meaning most of our food came from wasn't im- was from homegrown
It's a
like in Haiti.
superpower. It's a superpower, and they're gonna tell you this Bill Gates guy running around
Hmm.
buying all the farmland in America.
Yeah,
So you know, so
exactly.
like it's a superpower, and that's why I don't think that little island. And I think Trump gave up the game the other day because he said something. I don't know if it was the other day, but it was a clip that I came across the other day where he's like,
Hmm.
"It's a nice piece of land. Somebody's gonna come up and buy it, right?"
Yeah,
And I was like, "Oh, this is what's really going on." And the water there is clean. So like
clean.
is so like I have bought a zero filter. I don't know if you ever seen one of those before.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so the zero filter comes with like this little stick. So now you spend
Uh-huh.
like your first 5 days with it, like measuring how many particles, parts per millions are in all your water.
Yeah.
And the water that I was getting from the well in Haiti was cleaner than the water I have here in Fort Myers. So you
Wow.
have that, you have land, you have beaches. Like it's and most of it is underdeveloped. Like I got a chance to fly over Haiti in
Hmm.
2015. It's completely just empty land, right? So it's like
Empty land. Wow.
it's like a clean slate. You could go there and reindustrialize it, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm looking at it with all this lack of stability is like, man, maybe this is just like a land grab. So if Haitians don't realize like how valuable like what they have is, someone else is just going to take it from them for pennies on the dollar. The same way the Native Americans kind of gave America up for like
Hmm.
blankets,
Yeah,
So it's
no,
yeah,
basically, and well, even Canadian, oh, the Native Canadians and the Indigenous in Canada too. But he made a good point. Sorry, the in terms of the development, lost my chain of thought here because you had said oh, sorry. In terms of the land, like the land grab, even because even the more people leaving too. Like for example, I'm sure we were showing a map, and like Martisan like 10 years ago is not the same as it looks like today. For example, like it's just completely when there were like big roads, it was blocked by gangs, and
okay,
some of those places where I guess the less fortunate where they lived those houses like are burnt down. So it really is just like a empty land. Nobody lives in that specific neighborhood that was occupied by gangs. And I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if it was the Trump clip you're referring to, but Trump had said something similar to that too during an interview on someone else's show. But he was mentioning the um, uh, immigration policy in the states, and he was saying how the amount of people that are coming into the U.S. But he mentioned, oh, like, and then he mentioned Haiti. Well, people are leaving Haiti. He said at some point it's gonna look like it's gonna be a nice piece of land. Like someone's gonna
yeah,
end up
yeah,
buying all of Haiti. He said that. Obviously,
yeah.
over
I saw it.
exaggerating, but
Yeah.
that so,
Well, if you have like good chunks of it, like it's you don't need it all.
you don't
So
need it all. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So if you have good chunks of it, like so it's fine. So yeah, so I don't know. Like I'm hoping like through what I got going on like my channel and all that stuff,
yeah,
just to start getting people to kind of think about like the best thing you could do for yourself is try to be like a sovereign person. Like if you have like you're better off owning a little house in the projects than
hmm,
having a mortgage somewhere, right? Because then that way you never have the option to say no, you never have the option to not go to work, to
yeah,
so like if everyone starts looking at that, and the reason I focus mostly on like the individual, because everything starts with the collection of the individuals, so everybody starts looking at that like for themselves. Then like when it comes to Haiti, say, all right, like all right, we're all Haitians, we're here, we're in this neighborhood, great. So like how can we work together to make this one little neighborhood better? And then like once that little neighborhood is better, then people will copycat. And then before you know it, you have like a functioning society. But it's gonna take like all of us.
to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, so even if it's like let's say all you got is like $10 a month to send to some like or whatever, like
yeah.
that'll over time, so I don't know if I'll see it in like my lifetime or whatever case may be. But if we just change like our thought processes, and have more of that, like, the militant mindset from like the beginning of your videos. I know you had like a clip with Augusty from the beginning. It's like, man, like that guy was like so
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
like what,
Yeah. Like,
like what happened, before you
yeah,
know it, you're like,
literally.
before you know it, you're like rich and you're,
Yeah.
like, so it's, like, but if they could, like, everybody could kind of like maintain that mindset, and then I think, like, when you see like the precursors for the corruption, whatever, it's got to be stomped out early, and then that way it's gonna, like, if people can just keep, because what happens is someone gets away with a little something. So somebody makes it to the Senate tomorrow, and then next week they got like a Porsche truck. Then, like,
Yeah.
people need to stop, like, mess that truck. Like, there's no reason why anybody of wealth should be able to drive in Haiti in a luxury vehicle.
No.
It should be rocked. It should be
Like,
burnt. Like, and I'm not advocating like killing or hurting anyone or
yeah, yeah.
personally, whatever. But like that property, it should be like, hey, like, you can't think it's okay to live here, and then this is our conditions.
Yeah.
You
And you're
know what I'm saying?
driving
Like,
by on
yeah,
these roads with a
every
Porsche.
day.
Like,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, like, the cars I see there and the way some people are living, it's like, it's crazy, and it's like, how is it? And what happens is everybody just goes behind their wall. They have a nice landscaping. They have, everything's nice, and then right outside the wall, there's like trash. There's poverty. There's all this stuff, and it's like, well,
Literally.
these people there, they should be like, hey, guy, like, you need to pay us to pick up this trash. If you don't pay us to pick up
Yeah.
this trash, we're gonna start throwing it over the wall. Like something like that, and like,
Yeah.
so, like, like, I mean, I don't want to get too much into this, because I mean, like,
No,
especially like now,
no.
like,
But
okay,
these are good.
but
These are good points though.
I think people need a more Marxist mindset in
I
relationship to
think so
capital.
too.
And I'm not saying it that, like, we need like socialism, communism, or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm not getting into that debate. But what I'm saying is, people need to realize, like, you have an adversarial relationship with people who are in that top bracket. If
Yeah.
you're down here, like, you're never friends. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
facts.
Like, you're
It's
because
true.
their whole job is extracting something from you. So,
Yeah.
like, when the people start realizing these types of mindsets and say, like, hey, like, you're not gonna live in this neighborhood unless, and one guy in a neighborhood, he can't sustain a whole neighborhood. But you
Exactly.
should be able to point and be like, this is what this guy's doing for us. Okay, what are you doing for us? Okay, this is what this, like, so, like, until they start making those types of demands, because, like, the same people with the nice houses, with the nice cars, whatever, they're the same people that are making sure that they have a monopoly in whatever sector they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stopping growth. So if
Yeah.
you're going to stop growth, then you need to be responsible for us, because you're not allowing us to thrive in an organic way. So that is what I think. That kind of mindset is what it's going to take.
Okay, no, actually, that's a good point because even then, and not even from like, you were mentioning, like it takes all of us diaspora, even the maybe I wouldn't say the wealthy, but the middle, the that small middle class in Haiti as well, in terms of like advocating and seeing, I find a lot of times, and that's just from my observation, that middle class, there's stuff going on, and they know, and they might have even families that are in that 90%, but really they don't really engage politically. They don't really talk to their senators in terms of those type of issues. And when it comes to the voting's a different thing because I know the last election there was only a 27, 28% participation, like from the
Mhm.
whole. So it was even the voting wasn't like a full representation of the sentiment, but a lot of them don't even go to the polls and vote. And most times, if they do go, it's never. And then again, it's your choice to vote. It's up to you. But when they do vote, it's never maybe a leader that's looking for radical change. It's most times a guy that's either trying to keep things the same, or is or they vote by bipartisan, like by their party as well. So if there's always, because if you look at the candidates, always a few people that are pushing for like radical change, but they get either 2% of the votes, really. So
Well, I don't know, like, because right now we're speaking English, right? So, like, that's
yeah,
not really going to help. I don't know how we're going to get that message out. But the people, milk toast voting has
uh-huh.
gotten them nothing. Like, I'm 40. Like, I've been going to Haiti since I was like 10, since I was 10, right? So,
Yeah,
like, I don't know how much more of the same you're gonna keep doing. So if I were them, I would lean, like, everybody, like, it's at the point, like, when Trump, I don't know if you ever heard the Meat Mill song where Trump's like, what do you have to lose? Your youth are unemployed, whatever.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
the intro, yeah, it's a fire
Yeah,
intro.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's where they're at right now. It's like,
yeah.
what do you have to lose? Like, it keeps getting worse. It keeps going down. It keeps going down. So you have to do something. And to be honest, anything that's gonna happen that's gonna be better is gonna come, like, Naibi in El Salvador. He's 41.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think people really need to open, like, if you're Haitian here and you have Haitians in Haiti or whatever,
Yeah.
you guys need to start looking. Like, this guy went a whole year with no murders. this, like he's reversing, like their economy is in a positive trajectory. Like this guy's making a lot of changes because he's leaning into the future. So if you have some guy who's talking the same nonsense, like we need someone who's young and charismatic. If I had my way, whoever went into
Yeah.
office, I would seize their passports. They'd have to wear
Oh.
you'd have to wear like ankle monitors
Yeah.
because like
Staying here.
if I need you, I'm gonna come find you wherever you
Yeah.
are. Like this is I think the kind of pressure the populace has to exert
And
on these
definitely,
people. And even like if you work at the airport and then you see this guy coming and he's shady, you need to call like, yo, here's this guy, like get a,
yeah.
like this is what WhatsApp's for. Like I got WhatsApp to share everything. This guy Dreadshudley.
No.
Remember guy. Oh, okay. So
Uh,
they got, like they're sharing every joke, every whatever, but at the same time, like, oh, here's this corrupt guy. He's in this neighborhood. I see him. Let's come protest him. Let's come, like make his life uncomfortable. So that
exactly.
way only the people who are doing the right things can have a peaceful sleep at night.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, that's good too. And speaking of passport, that's all I always thought too. Like, if you're gonna be, for me, I would be like, if I had it my way, I'd be you're staying here, your kids stay in this country, because a lot of
yeah,
times too, they'll have
your
and
kids are
nothing
getting educated somewhere else.
exactly. Like,
Yeah,
you're staying here, they're gonna get that same education. Like,
yeah,
and then if you want them to get education, then help build infrastructure, build schools, so they can have a good education here. But that's just me.